A man running for his life stopped to save a stranger from a burning house. He thought the story ended there. What he discovered next changed everything he thought he knew about himself. Marcus heard the sound of the sirens echo through the narrow streets as he ran, breath burning, shoes slapping against wet pavement. He was a wanted man, armed robbery. His face was already on every screen. Every instinct screamed at him not to stop. Then he saw the smoke. A small house at the end of the block was engulfed in flames. Fire crawled up the windows like something alive. Neighbors stood frozen across the street, shouting, filming, waiting for help that hadn't arrived yet. From inside, a voice screamed. Marcus slowed. The sirens were right behind him now. An old woman appeared at the window, pounding weakly on the glass, coughing, barely standing. Someone yelled, "The fire department's coming." Marcus had maybe 10 seconds. 10 seconds to disappear while everyone watched the fire. He hesitated. Then he turned and ran straight toward the flames. He smashed through the door and vanished into the smoke. Heat slammed into him, trying to force him back, but he kept moving, calling out until he found her collapsed in the back room. He lifted her into his arms and staggered through the inferno. When he burst outside, the crowd gasped. He laid her gently on the sidewalk just as police cars screeched to a stop. Officers jumped out and recognized him instantly. Hands went to weapons. "Don't move." Marcus raised his hands without a fight. The old woman grabbed the nearest officer's sleeve, her voice shaking but fierce. "That man saved my life. He didn't have to, but he did." The officers hesitated. As they led Marcus away in handcuffs, the fire chief stepped closer. "You could have kept running," he said quietly. Marcus nodded. "I know." The patrol car door closed. The old woman watched through tears, her hand raised in thanks. For the first time that night, the man who had been running finally stopped. Marcus sat alone in a holding cell, hands still smelling like smoke. His wrists ached where the cuffs had been. He replayed the moment over and over, the window, the choice, the heat. He didn't know if he'd ruined his life or saved it. The old woman's name was Linda Hayes. At the hospital, her grandson David drove in from Manhattan. He was a lawyer, mid-30s, exhausted from the drive. "Grandma, are you okay?" Linda smiled weakly through her oxygen mask. "I'm fine. Because of him." "Who?" "The young man who saved me. They arrested him. I need you to find out who he is." David sighed. "Grandma, I do corporate law." "I don't. Please." Linda's grip was surprisingly strong. "Your grandfather would have helped him." David went quiet. His grandfather, Thomas Hayes, had been a firefighter for 30 years. Saved countless lives. Died 5 years ago, leaving behind stories and a legacy of compassion. "Okay," David said. "I'll look into it." 2 days later, David sat in his office, staring at a case file. Marcus Webb. 24. No priors. Worked at a warehouse. Sent money to his sick mother every month. Accused of armed robbery based on questionable evidence. But that wasn't what made David's hands shake. He'd pulled Marcus's birth records. Cross-referenced them with his grandfather's old files. Thomas had kept meticulous records of every rescue. And there it was. August 12, 1984. Apartment fire. Rescued, Diane Webb, age 19, pregnant. March 15, 1985. Birth certificate, Marcus Webb. Mother, Diane Webb. David read it 3 times. The baby born after his grandfather's rescue had just saved his grandmother. David visited Marcus in jail the next morning. Marcus looked exhausted. Defeated. "Your grandmother okay?" Marcus asked. "She's fine. Because of you." David set a folder on the table. I need to show you something. He opened it. The 1984 fire report. Marcus read it slowly. His hands started trembling. My mom told me about this. When I was a kid. Said a firefighter saved her from a fire right before I was born. She never knew his name. Just that someone risked everything for her. His name was Thomas Hayes, David said. And the woman you saved last week? That's his widow. My grandmother. The words hung in the air. Marcus looked up, eyes wet. I don't understand. 40 years ago, my grandfather saved your mother. She was pregnant with you. And last week, you saved his wife. David leaned forward. He told your mother to pass it forward. She did. She raised a son who ran into a fire to save a stranger. Just like he did. Marcus put his head in his hands. David arranged for Marcus to call his mother. Diane Webb was in hospice. Stage 4 lung cancer. Weeks, maybe days left. The phone rang twice before she answered. Marcus? Mom. His voice cracked. I messed up. I ran, and now. I heard what you did. You saved her. Silence. They told you? Marcus asked. About the firefighter? Yes. David Hayes called me yesterday. Told me everything. She coughed, recovered. I was so scared, Mom. When I saw that fire, I almost kept running. But you didn't. You stopped. You chose. Her voice softened. I'm so proud of you, Marcus. Whatever happens next, I want you to know that. I love you, Mom. I love you too, baby. Always. 2 weeks later, Marcus stood in court. David had taken the case. Built a defense around the weak evidence, poor footage, questionable witness ID, no physical evidence linking Marcus to the crime. But the prosecutor was unmoved. Your Honor, the defendant fled. That demonstrates consciousness of guilt. David stood. Or it demonstrates fear. My client is 24 years old. He saw his future disappearing based on mistaken identity. He panicked. But when he had the opportunity to escape, when every instinct told him to run, he made a different choice. He gestured to Linda Hayes in the gallery. He saved my grandmother's life. The widow of the firefighter who saved his mother 40 years ago. This is who Marcus Webb really is. The judge studied Marcus for a long moment. Mr. Webb, the actual robbery suspect was apprehended 3 days ago. The evidence against you was circumstantial at best. The charges for robbery are dismissed. Marcus exhaled. However, the judge continued, you did flee from law enforcement. That carries consequences. I'm sentencing you to 1 year community service and 2 years probation. I think that's fair. Marcus nodded. Thank you, Your Honor. 1 month later, Marcus visited Linda Hayes. She'd moved to a smaller apartment, the house was gone, but she'd rebuilt. Literally and metaphorically. She poured tea with hands that still shook slightly. You didn't have to keep visiting, she said. Yes, I did, Marcus said. You changed my life, Mrs. Hayes. She smiled. No, Marcus. You changed yours. When you ran into that fire. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment. My husband used to say something, Linda said. He'd say that compassion isn't a transaction. It's a chain. You don't repay the person who helped you. You help the next person. And they help the next. And it keeps going. Marcus looked down at his tea. My mom died last week. I know. I'm so sorry. She held on long enough to know I was okay. That I'd be okay. His voice caught. 8 months later. Marcus stood in a community center in his old neighborhood, running a program for at-risk youth. A teenager approached him after a session. 16, angry eyes, fresh charges for shoplifting. You Marcus Webb? Yeah. I heard about you. The fire. The arrest. All of it. The kid shifted uncomfortably. I messed up. Got caught stealing food, things have been bad at home. Court dates next week. I don't know what to do. Marcus studied him. Saw himself. Saw fear and desperation and a kid trying to survive. What's your name? Jamal. Marcus put a hand on his shoulder. Let me tell you a story, Jamal. About a firefighter who saved a woman 40 years ago. About how that woman raised a son. About how that son saved the firefighter's widow. About chains and choices and how one act of compassion can travel through time. Jamal listened. You made a mistake, Marcus said. That doesn't define you. What you do next does. Let me help you. Why would you help me? Marcus smiled. Because someone helped me. And before that, someone helped my mom. And before that, someone probably helped the firefighter. It's a chain, Jamal. And you're the next link. Thomas Hayes died in 2019, never knowing that the child born after his rescue would one day save his wife. But Linda knows. And Marcus knows. And now Jamal knows. The chain doesn't break. It just keeps going, link after link, choice after choice. Because compassion isn't about repaying a debt, it's about passing it forward. And trusting that somewhere, somehow, it will come back around when someone needs it most. Marcus still visits Linda Hayes once a month. Jamal got his charges reduced and now volunteers at the center. Last month, he stopped a kid from shoplifting and instead bought him groceries. Have you received kindness from a stranger before? Please share your experience with us in the comments, and thanks for watching.